everyone. Welcome to the Dida Show on Radio Free Brooklyn. Thank you for tuning in today, and I'm very excited to have someone I met recently after a show where you would usually meet people. It was a beautiful show. What's the name of the venue?
Little Island.
Little Island, that's right. And it was Sullivan Fortner's solo show on a gorgeous evening. And I met Jesse Markowitz.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for making it. And I immediately knew that I want to have you to the show because you got me addicted that night to ginger shot. So let's open with a little ginger shot. Cheers.
Okay.
Would you tell us about that a little?
Sure.
Wait. Before that, actually, let's tell people who you are except of the ginger shot.
Okay.
So, do you want to tell me what you do?
I do social media for jazz musicians, some of the more notable ones, such as Wayne Shorter, Dave Holland, Fred Hirsch, Chris Potter, Melissa Aldana, Sullivan Fortner, etc.
That's so sick, and I have so many questions already to know what it means to do that, and how do you get to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the ginger because it's important.
While I was figuring out that I wanted to work on the promotional side of music, I was cycling through instruments that I claimed I played. I was more a saxophone holder than a player, but I did go to Humber College and studied with Pat LaBarbera, etc.
Yeah.
But in between, I was there for trumpet, and then I had this, what I consider now to be like a false epiphany, but it was a means to an end, and decided, actually, I'm going to be a saxophone player. And so I took a couple years to learn the saxophone, and in that time, I went to culinary school.
Yeah.
And I graduated.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was that?
George Brown College in Toronto. And so since then, I tried working in a couple of restaurants, and that lifestyle is not for me.
Yeah.
I was always just more concerned about playing music in the kitchen and I hate this song. Can we turn it off? And they're like, no, get back to work.
Yeah.
So that shit wasn't for me. But I developed just a skill for it, and since then I love cooking at home, and I just have discovered a few things that I think make me stand out as a home cook or as a just person bringing stuff around for people to enjoy. And ginger shots is my primary outlet for that. I just noticed it was around 7 years ago. Every time I would order a juice, if they put more ginger than I was expecting, I would feel better. Yeah. So one day I just thought, I'm going to go as hard with this as I possibly can. I went to a bodega. I got them to juice about 4 pounds of ginger.
Yeah.
I bought the ginger, and then they charged me a $10 fee to juice it. And and then I had this big bottle of it, and it absolutely changed my life. I don't ever get sick.
Wow. Did you ever have COVID?
It was very mild, just once, and it was I didn't actually even realize I had it until a couple of weeks later.
Right.
Oh, right. My taste buds were compromised for a couple of days, and a couple of weeks later,
and you never have a cold or the flu?
No.
Wow.
Because I have around 4 or 5 of these shots per day.
And there's no danger in it? You can't overdose on ginger? Not overdose, but you know what I mean? Overdo it?
I think you'll just go to the bathroom a lot.
Okay.
Which could be good, but I'm no doctor. Maybe there is some sort of...
Did you ever ask a doctor or acupuncture or something? No. It feels good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. Do you drink
really
coffee?
Good. Yeah, and actually a weird combination is ginger and coffee.
Yeah.
I've slowly started to put that in my repertoire of if I see someone with some coffee and I've got my ginger bottle, I'm like, here, have some. And they say, this is a vibe. Last week, the Brand from Marsalis Quartet were at Smoke Jazz Club, where I do their social media, so I was there every night. No, I was there every night but one, because I went to Cecile's art show.
Oh, yeah?
McLaurin Selvon.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I hooked all of them and their crew, and they were asking me, Jesse, where's your ginger?
Yeah.
And then even in their coffee, they're like, this is great.
Wow. Let's cheers to that.
Yeah, here, I'll pour one out.
Okay, so we're going to do that.
First, got to shake it up.
You made this today?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long can it last?
It can last a couple weeks.
Okay.
In the fridge, and you can also freeze it. And it's even stronger when it comes out of the freezer, strangely enough.
Sick. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay.
I remember after that show when I had the ginger shots with you. Cheers. Thank you for making it. I felt so good and energized.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Loving it. Okay.
Good. I'm glad that it's around 1 in 30 times I give this to someone, they get really bad hiccups for like 10 minutes. So I'm glad.
Shit, really? Is that a symptom?
I think it's some people
Come to the mic a little. Yeah.
Some people respond to spicy food
Ah.
like that, and that's what that is. But
Okay.
I just tried and tell them the spicier the better. That means that means you're going to feel better.
Right.
I like to say it burns the evil out of you.
Amazing.
And
Okay.
the
Yes.
thing is, you can buy a ginger shot in a bodega or health store, whatever.
Yeah.
Your only option that I've ever seen, and I've looked basically every time I'm at Whole Foods, every time just anywhere,
Yeah.
you can only buy one ginger shot at a time. And it's usually watered down. It usually is has orange juice in it. And it's just, it completely defeats the purpose. It's better than nothing, and it's usually around $5.
Right. So you think everyone should start making it in their house?
I think it's $1 million idea that I'm just giving away right now.
Yeah.
Someone is going to get stinking rich by selling around 20-ounce bottle for,
Yeah.
I don't know, $20.
Right.
And that's the equivalent of $100 worth of like ginger shots if you were to buy them with
Right.
your only other option.
Maybe you should sell it.
It's a huge step to go from giving it away to my friends, bottling it in whatever,
Right.
This was a white wine vinegar bottle that I ripped
Yeah.
part of the label off.
Wow. I would love to have this bottle, for example.
And then incorporate it into your daily life like I do.
Yeah.
5 shots a day, or maybe, start with 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And significantly improve your health. I have a pretty decadent lifestyle otherwise, let's say,
Yeah.
and it keeps me grounded.
Wow. I really got to start it, and I think I'll have to make my own.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I do it?
I use a juicer.
Yeah.
I use the Omega brand. But if you don't have a juicer, you can use a blender, and there's just one extra step. It's annoying if you're used to doing it with a juicer, but in a pinch, it's great. Where you pour it over a sieve with a bowl underneath,
Yeah.
and a little bit of juice will come out, and then you have to hand squeeze.
Yeah.
And it takes a while because it's just a lot of juice.
Yeah.
And you think you're almost done, but no, there's a lot more.
Wow.
And then that's basically the same.
How
Sorry.
many gingers do you need to put there?
You blend it with water. I forgot that part. That's
okay.
You pour it in the blender. You cut it up, put it in the blender with water so that there aren't big chunks.
Yes.
But
That was delicious. I already feel great.
yeah, it's like I also like to consider myself the evolved version of what previously and let's say still goes on at say jazz venues or anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is like the cocaine pusher.
Right.
Which is I'm this weird music industry guy. I show up, hey, do you want to do this thing?
Yeah.
And people are, I don't know, I guess so. And then 2 minutes later, they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing.
Right.
So it's the
that.
ritual is like really similar, but then you're not, selling all your possessions. You're not like, well, I could go into all the stuff the horrible behavior I've seen as a result of like cocaine addicted people in the music industry, but perhaps that's better for another show.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's vast.
But I want to know, how did you even find yourself like in the music industry? So you were learning to play the saxophone. You went to culinary school.
Yeah.
And then what?
When I was in college for saxophone, I would spend 2 hours in the practice room. The horn would be on the ground for 3/4 of that, and I would be on the computer like looking up New York club listings, reading record reviews on All Music Guide.
Yeah. So you were basically obsessed with like music and the scene, but not.
Yeah. And I think I don't know if it's like a Western thing or what, but it just the idea that if you like music, then you should be a musician. That's like the only path. I don't know. No one ever said to me, well, why don't you like choose something that's on the other side of music, like the promotional side,
Right.
the production, or or the administrative side or something like that. That to me, it should have been obvious for many years,
Right.
Because I was never someone that wanted to practice for even an hour a day. Like I got by on a really good ear. Like I was in an advanced ear training class. Actually, David Varelis, the great pianist now, who's on ECM, and he was my ear training teacher at Humber College, and I got a very high mark. And
talk about ear training. Do you hear this little buzz?
I do hear that buzz.
Do you know if your phone you can put it on airplane? I don't know why, but I feel like it might help.
Let's see.
Because it drives me a little crazy.
Oh, that would drive me crazy.
I think it's better. No. What is that? I don't know. Anyway.
What were we talking about?
Is it better? I have to talk to the radio people. Is
that going to show up on the show?
No.
Oh, okay.
But we'll forget about it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Come closer to the mic for us, or bring it closer to you. That's the deal. Yes. Okay, so then you're like, but no one told you there's an option.
Right. And I got into it. I started interning around Canada, around Toronto, for Verve Records.
So you thought about it. Like, maybe I want to do something in the record business.
Yeah. Starting when I was 20.
Yeah.
I met this guy who ran, is there any way to turn the volume down on my earphones? Because it's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I interned for just a few Canadian music organizations. Verve Records, the young jazz singer Nikki Yanofsky and her record label. The Art of Time Ensemble, which was a classical organization.
Yeah. With
each one, some were better than others, but with each one, I really felt I was being abused. All this free labor. Some of them I used my connections to make them a significant amount of money, and then they would say, "Well, thank you for your internship," and then they would get another intern,
right,
and not hire me. And so then I went back to restaurants, working in restaurants, which I hated. And on the very first day that I went back, it just occurred to me, something that had been just sort of floating around my mind for even more than a year at that point, but it hadn't gelled as an idea yet, but it did that day. It was, I should do social media for jazz because it's really not being taken care of. Most artists, that was 2013.
Yeah.
And most artists did not have it then. So I thought of the most inaccessible, online personality, Roy Hargrove.
Yeah.
I knew his manager's name, Larry Clothier, so I Googled Larry Clothier email. I got his email address, and I wrote him, and he wrote me back the same day, and I was hired that week. And I was
That's amazing. Wait, what did you write? Hey, I see that no one is taking care of his social media. I would love to...
Yes.
Okay, wow.
And I found out much later, but B.B. Green, who was Marcus Miller's manager, just 1 week before that at the Monk competition, Larry had come to B.B. and said, I don't know what to do. Roy's fees are going down. And she said, well, you should get on social media. And he's the type that, he's not going to then go investigate. And so he was waiting for someone to come along. And so that was such extreme good luck. On my first day, I did a couple posts on Roy's page, and then I emailed Dave Holland, and I said, this is what I do for Roy. I would love to do it for you. And he wrote back the next day.
Whoa.
And it's after years of working for free, I was I just asked, and they hired me, and I was getting paid
work. Can I ask
you,
how did you tell them how much it is, or did they come? How did you guys figure out how much it is? Because it's such a new territory.
Yeah, I just threw out a number, and they thought it was okay. Yeah.
What's your number?
No, I can't.
Or generally, how much someone should expect to pay for someone, or how do you even think about it? Is
it's
an
very
hour?
nuanced. It's it really depends on how available you make yourself.
Right. So how does your job look? Let's talk about that for a second.
It's
you have to go around with the people that you do.
Yeah. I tend to only work for people whose music I really believe in and I love. You know, it's if I wasn't working for Sullivan Fortner, I would go to his shows. I would take photos. I would want to talk to him and his friends, and I would provide ginger shots, etc.
Yeah.
And so I do that as much as I can. Sometimes it's I've been at Smoke every night, and one of my clients is playing in Brooklyn, and I live in Inwood, so it's sometimes I just have to take the night off.
Right.
But one point I'd like to make, though, about Canada versus the United States is that in Canada, it's just extremely similar to why someone like me could never work out in Canada.
Yeah.
In Canada, you have to introduce yourself before you start talking to someone and establish who you are and what your rank is.
Yeah.
And in the United States, people just start talking to you.
Right.
And all of my ideas that I had working for Canadians were shot down because, well, who are you to suggest such a thing? You need to you need to take orders, not give them.
Yeah.
And then in America, it's just like, oh, that is a good idea. So sure.
Right. It's called chutzpah.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's good to have.
And so that was, they say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. But I really literally could not get a job in Toronto. And then as soon as I start working in the United States, I have too much work to even, I have to turn down work.
Wow.
So
who do you turn down? More people want you to do their social media?
Yeah. Like I could always use more money, but it's like
But wait, let's say you're like, I'm really curious. So let's take me as an example. Let's say I want to hire someone to do my social media. Is it like a retainer thing or it's by hour or like how would you think about how
I do a monthly fee.
Monthly fee and then you just take...
It's like there's a general recommended like level of work.
Yeah.
That will depend on
what's the recommended level of work?
It depends on how much I'm being paid, but it's like someone that just really wants to go for it and can pay my fee.
Yeah.
I'd like to say 3 posts per week minimum.
Yeah.
Sometimes if things get really busy, I fall short. And then sometimes if it's like, an album release or an important show or something like that, then I'm not going to adhere to them or like I'll do more than 3.
Yeah. Are there ever like, wow, don't like the way you did it or something?
Oh, all the time. Not all the time, but yeah, many times. And I've had to walk away from like, I don't know, Spanish Harlem Orchestra was an incredible band, but it's like I would show up, they'd say, oh, don't film us, we're not ready. And I'm like, no, well, like, it's not about that. People like to see the process, and that's a major part of social media, and that's what differentiates it from like other media.
Right.
Is that you're like allowing someone to be a fly on the wall in your process.
Yeah.
And so they said, no, well, they said, okay, we'll think about it. So I'm just like sitting there. And then I did a live stream from their show and they said, we need you to take it down. We don't like it. And, because it's like filmed on a phone. But like 10,000 people loved it.
Right, right.
And it was, I don't have any ill will towards them. It's just they didn't want it. And so,
some people
so I walked
don't.
away.
Yeah.
They still won a Grammy Award, but I did not claim my certificate for that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Say that for Wayne Shorter. But, yeah.
So basically, you get to be in all the different parts of like making music, like shows and recording sessions and a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Yeah,
some are more amenable than others. Like
you get sometimes like more even close to the people you're around. So you come to the house and like they practice and you shoot it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I Roy didn't get it. I really wanted to film Roy practicing, but he wasn't into that. But he did. Like I consider him as having saved my life. Like he's I just worship him and his memory. And the best part about that was like he was always around town, sitting in places, showing up unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And I always dreamed that it would be the type of thing where he would text me or something, hey Jesse, I'm going to Zinc to sit in, and then I would show up. But he never, and I suggested it lightly, but that's not who Roy was. But because of who he was, I was running into him all the time.
Right.
Taking a photo, posting it. Roy's at Zinc, Roy's at Smoke.
Right.
And I'd like to think that it really helped him have, like, when I started working for him, his career was in a bit of a down place.
Yeah.
As well as his playing.
Yeah.
And it got much better. And then towards the end, it was really, really great. It was never, like 2001 level, but it was the Roy everyone loves. The ability to just completely transform the energy in the room from his trumpet playing, and just make people go wild.
Yeah.
And so, it's the type of thing that he never would have thought of or considered, but because I did it, it helped, and he loved it, and he developed this character name for himself, Jazz Man. It's like Jazz Man's on the loose with a sunglasses emoji, and, things like that.
That's so cool. And you heard about me from Roy? Or like
because he's on your record.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you know about things? Like you see that
at the very beginning, what I was doing was was going to great lengths to highlight basically an entire discography of the clients I had.
Yeah.
It's really easy when it's someone like Roy, Dave Holland, Wayne.
Right.
And so I was finding a time to just post a song from every single session they'd ever done. I don't do that as much now, but it was just to get me started. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And I would do things like post the entire personnel and a link to buy the albums.
Yeah.
Back when that was a thing. And Dave Holland said something just within my first few months. He said, Jesse, you're freeing the music from a system that no longer works.
Right.
And I really like that.
Yeah. So then you just saw in his discography that he's a special guest on my record?
Yes.
Did you post it?
I think I did, yeah.
Wow.
You can look it up. It would have been like 2013, 14.
Right. It will be like there wasn't story.
Mm-hmm.
Sick. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was 2011, yeah. Okay.
Right, okay, yeah.
But then, okay, so I want to hear. So you also told me that like sometimes you give ideas to your clients. For example, like they're going to do a new recording and you're like, you should have this person on it or something?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying that about this recent Kurt Elling, Sullivan Fortner album. It turned like they did have that idea before I suggested it. But I sort of kept repeating it and then it happened.
And it was such a like spontaneous recording?
Yeah, so Kurt Elling, one of my clients, and I'm very close with his manager, Brian Farina.
Yeah.
So I communicate mostly with Brian, and he was saying, who should Kurt record with as a duo album that we're going to make on Monday and release on Friday? And this is like the Thursday before the Monday.
Right.
Or maybe the Wednesday. And my first thought was Sullivan Fortner, absolutely.
Wow. What was this idea of them to like do a record so fast?
I think Kurt just has so much music in him that he's recognizing that the old system doesn't work, and you know he has this wouldn't work for everybody, but his fan base is particularly dedicated. They love him, they worship him. He's truly a healer. He's a spiritual healer.
Yeah.
He's the only one out of like a dozen first cousins that didn't become a minister.
Wow.
But he did get his degree, or I think he actually dropped out. He was like one credit short or something like that from a degree in theology in Illinois, I believe.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so he is someone that's well suited for like just release as much music as you can. Wynton Marsalis is another one. And
do you work for Wynton too?
No.
Did you ever try? Who did you try to work with and it's like not happening?
Herbie, his management, and it's not the only one, but like numerous times when I would, because I was proposing this to basically everyone. How do you find the
managers of everyone? It's
usually written down somewhere, but many times I was responded to like I was a con man trying to like get some money out of them for doing not like something they don't understand and they assumed is not necessary or important. And,
right.
And so I tried with Herbie. The best part about that, though, is that just a couple of years after they turned me down, they were taking my ideas of like formatting posts and copying them.
Really?
So I'm honored by that. I love Herbie so dearly.
Yeah.
We've chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo together.
Do you know who's handling his socials now?
It's someone at Red Light Management, and it's fine. It's just very impersonal. It's kind of a shame that Herbie is known as being this forerunner in technology and stuff like that over many decades, and then he just kind of stopped. And he's never done a live stream. He's never communicated with his audience at all online, like nothing.
Right.
And it's like he's so great. I've always, if I could just sit there with my phone while he does like solo synthesizers in his Homer, that's just a fantasy.
Right.
I've done that for Fred Hirsch, and it's lovely. With Fred, we did a talk show for a while. There's like maybe a dozen episodes that are, or you can see them all on his Facebook page. Yeah. Where he would start by playing. People would write in questions or comments, and I would read them to him, and he'd respond. Yeah. And then sometimes a dialogue, like then sometimes the original person who wrote it would respond, and a dialogue would start, and then he'd read from his book, and it was like a nice little variety show, just filmed in his home in Soho.
Yeah. And do you think it's right for all musicians to have someone when they need it and can afford it would do it, or like do you think some are really good at doing it themselves and it's adding to their personality or something?
I think as long as you have time for it, then there's always it's always good to have the musician participate if they want to.
Right. You think most musicians don't want to? Because I feel like...
No, that's the thing. Most musicians do not want to.
But in the older generation, even in our generation, they don't want to?
So many people I know, like great musicians, they just don't think to advertise themselves well or promote themselves. I think it's part of the artistic mindset is not being good at promoting yourself.
Right.
There's some exceptions.
Who are the exceptions?
Eric Reed is really good at it. Orrin Evans is really good at it.
Yeah.
And they're some of my favorite musicians. So
what about the young ones? Like, I don't know, Samara Joy, isn't she like huge on TikTok?
That's like legendary, iconic thing that she did through social media.
What did she do exactly?
Just being proficient at TikTok, it got her, she has hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah.
And that, along with being an absolutely breathtaking, wonderful singer, catapulted her to mainstream success. And she won the Best New Artist Grammy Award, which never goes to anything remotely related to jazz ever. Yeah. Well, actually, that's not true because Esperanza Spalding got it, but those are two significant exceptions.
Does Esperanza does her own social?
Yeah, she's very selective with what she does. It always has like an artistic spin to it, and it always looks nice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say like she should do it differently, but if I were doing it differently, there would just be more. But that's not a criticism. I love SB.
Right.
But someone that I like to he's a dear friend of mine, and he's one of the great pianists maybe ever, but definitely living. Is Micah Thomas. Yeah. He doesn't do a good job with it because he does so many great things, and you just rarely hear about it unless you know him.
Right.
And I try and get him to.
Do you have even time for more people? I feel like to do it well for people, you have to really be busy being around them.
Yeah, and thinking about them and
right, and thinking wow, they're doing all these things this week. I have to
yeah.
Do they have a job of saying they're touring and you're not with them? They need to send you pictures and stuff.
Yeah, and some are better at it than others. Yeah, I mean, today, Dave Holland he's a perfect example of he just assumes I'll get it.
Yeah.
So today his album was announced, and I didn't even know about it, but I saw it pretty quick, and so I was able to do a perfectly fine post about it. But Edition Records, no one told me, and no one from Dave's management told me.
Yeah.
But I love Dave, along with Roy. They really lifted me out of the gutter.
Yeah.
And continue to. And so no bad feelings about it. I guess maybe it's something that I should be proud of, just that they know that I'll get it. Like Wayne, for example, I asked him in our first meeting since I started working for him, which was about 8 months in. We were having breakfast in Orlando, Florida, in his hotel room, and I asked, "Do you follow the work I do?" And he said, I watched it for 1 week, and then I determined that you know what you're doing, and I haven't seen it since then. And I'm very proud to speak for Wayne, and even write in first person as him. Not anymore, but is the honor of a lifetime. Yeah. It's Wayne Shorter. It's my hero since I was a teenager. I mean, Dave, Roy. I actually saw all of them in one night when I was 20 in the year 2005. I went from Carnegie Hall, where I saw a double bill of Wayne Shorter Quartet and the Dave Holland Quintet with Chris Potter. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Jazz Gallery and saw Roy. And it was like a spark or some energy in the air that day.
Wow.
Many years later, I would have this significant part of their career.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, do you feel like you have to learn each person's individual personality and create their voice, or you have your voice and you just show what they do?
A little bit of both. I like formatting it in a similar way across clients so that people say they know that it's me doing it.
Right.
I'm very proud of that. But everyone is different. Wayne will
Let's
obviously...
say if I would hire you, okay, I'm releasing an album and I want to have someone handling it for me. Do you feel like you get into my language kind of, or how I've been doing it? Yeah. That's a hard thing to do.
One thing I don't like, and I find is sort of a mistake that gets made pretty consistently on social media, is just trying to make it conversational all the time. Super excited to release this album. I'm stoked to be playing at Smalls.
Yeah.
And I like to just say Wayne Shorter is playing at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
And not so excited. Everyone says that these days.
It's true. Like, stop with the stoked and excited. Did I say today that I'm excited to have you? I know, today on the Dida Show.
I just know you are.
Yeah, I'm very excited. But listen, I want to talk about one more question before I want to listen to that recording of Kurt Elling that's so fucking good.
Okay.
But I want to ask you, do you feel like, I know the jazz scene, like, can create some habits that are bad for you, like being out late and being in the show and like drinking or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But do you feel like being on social media all the time is like kind of ruining your life, or it's your job and you like it?
Once in a while, under very specific circumstances, I'm able to take a couple of days off, and it is like the best days of my year. Like it, yeah. Social media in general, statistics have proven that it has like it's resulted in some really horrible things.
Right.
Especially
but maybe
with teenagers.
For doing it for other people, no, you do it also for yourself. So
yeah, all the time. And ideally, I'd like to think that I'm a bright light in a generally somewhat dark place.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell people to get off social media. The ones that are off social media, I will say I envy you.
Yeah.
I know I would miss it. I mean, as a sort of introverted person, it was my avenue to take to have a life.
Yeah.
Like a successful life.
Right.
And an employable life and form relationships with people.
Right.
Because that did not come naturally to me. And it came from positive attention paid to me on social media. In like the early years of MySpace and even Friendster.
By the way, from watching a little bit how you manage your own social media and then how you manage your clients, I do love how casual and like, insane yours is. Insane in a good way. But you can't really do it with the others because it like has to be more professional.
I guess so. I never thought of it that way, but I think
like if I would hire you to do mine, I would like it to be more chaotic, like showing the crazy shit of like,
Well, I've done some stuff that is really like...
Because that's like more interesting.
Like my April Fool's Day pranks are some of the best days of my life. The first one was I announced a world tour of Roy Hargrove and Kenny G.
Yeah.
And I was not established enough yet to do this. I just did it. I basically had a nervous breakdown the night before, and I posted it at 6 a.m. and there was a photo of Roy. It was like two photos cobbled together of Roy and Kenny. There was a single that was announced. Mm-hmm. I had tour dates. It was going to be at the Apollo Theater.
Yeah.
And then a link, and the link takes you to a YouTube, or just like the song April's Fool.
Yeah.
Which is by Ron Blake. It's on Roy's album Tenors of Our Time.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, I went really wild with it for Wayne. I announced a Wayne Shorter cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And it was like this full NFT. I always thought that cryptocurrency and NFTs are stupid and silly, and not everyone who's into it is stupid. I'm not saying that, but I think it's a con. If people want to disagree with it, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're, but so I had this NFT that was a collection of watercolor paintings that Wayne just completed of the LA skyline, because his terrace overlooks the LA skyline.
Yeah.
The notoriously shelved Two Tenors session from Stanley Turrentine and Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
That Blue Note shelved back in the day.
Yeah.
These don't exist. Like this, I just made this up.
Yeah.
The Wayne's world famous recipe for peaches and cream, which is a reference to a Wayne Shorter song called Peaches and Cream from the album The Young Lions. What else was it? And then an invitation to a metaverse dinner party with guests Renee Fleming, Joni Mitchell, Ron Carter, and after dinner, and it's like, what is that even? A metaverse dinner? Is there food?
Yeah.
But I just went with after dinner, guests will retreat to a metaverse lounge designed by Frank Gehry and enjoy a solo synthesizer set from Herbie Hancock with video projection art curated by Esperanza Spalding.
Yeah.
And people are reading this and, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I'm going to bid. And it was like bidding starts at 8.251933 ETH, which is some sort of currency. It's like the popular one, I guess, which translated to American dollars is like $25,000.
Yeah.
And so people were outraged in the comments. How dare Wayne Shorter sell out and into the cryptocurrency crowd. He's ruining his career, and then other people were like, I was so excited and ready to bid, and then so it was like the link, like click here for more info, and it was a meme. It was a photo of Wayne pointing at the camera, and it just says April Fools.
Wow!
And doing that is the most perfect marriage of like what we were just describing of like getting into that artist's vibe, like general vibe.
Yeah,
because Wayne is like a mischief lover. Mm-hmm. He constantly he'll talk in movie characters, or he'll just create it. It's like you can't have a linear conversation with him. He you have to follow him.
Yeah,
and his life is a movie that he's constantly writing, constantly rewriting.
Yeah,
and so I was extremely proud to apply his artistry to social media, and in that moment at least elevate social media to an art form. Yeah, not just a means of promoting an art form, but the art form itself. Another person who does that really exceptionally well is Madonna on her Instagram. Like, really, she's not posting things that are related to some. Like, she's not saying like, I released this, you can go look at it by link in bio. She's creating stuff and like really intricate with, like, she definitely has like film crews and whatnot. She has the budget, obviously. Yeah, but that is like a new canvas for her.
That's amazing.
I mean, she's always
have to check it out.
Yeah, I would recommend. And some of it is like it's her in scantily clad outfits, and some people like would say she doesn't look so good. But I just think it's wonderful because she's really breaking norms of like what it means to be an aging woman. She's in her mid-60s now, and I think she's just rocking it. She's always got this like young stud boyfriend who's like 25 or something.
Really? Wow.
So go Madonna.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, let's go back for a second to Kurt Elling.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
do you
at
think
this
like
session,
these people like that, I'm just thinking, will come to the show? Like, if I'll try to have Kurt come here, will he do it?
I could ask him.
That would be amazing.
He's the most open person I've ever worked with.
I'm such a fan, and like I started this show actually to bring singers and like learn how to sing from them.
He lives in Chicago, but he's in New York a fair bit. I will definitely show him this.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. This is how open he is. When BTS, the Korean supergroup, like boy band, they said in an interview that they like Kurt Elling, and all of a sudden the page skyrocketed by like tens of thousands of new followers who were all in like from Korea. Started following. So what does Kurt do? This is during the pandemic, and he was doing these live streams, like weekly live streams. It was called the Cocktail Hour, and so he covered a BTS song.
Oh my God.
And I thought, this is a bit of a stretch, but bravo for doing it anyway.
It's amazing.
And now he's doing these albums where he's like breaking out of this weird, outdated model of like you record an album and then like 2 years later they release it. Like Joel Ross's first album on Blue Note was recorded 3 years before it came out.
Yeah, it's always like that. It's so annoying.
Yeah. And anyone that follows Joel like could hear the record and he's advanced so far since this was recorded. Right. It's still a fine record, but
albums should definitely be released faster.
Yeah, and so I'm a huge fan of Phish and the Grateful Dead jam bands. I'm sure some of your listeners will laugh at me for that, but that's okay. And that's what they do. Is the Grateful Dead invented social media before the internet when they found out that people were this is in the 60s. We're bringing in amateur tape recording equipment, and taping their shows. And instead of telling them not to, they set it up so that they could do that, and it would sound the best. They gave them their own designated section in the venue. They told the venue security to leave them alone. Yeah. And from that, all these tapes started to exist. And then they also created one of the first mailing lists, and on it they sanctioned people trading tapes. Wow. This is all. They're not making any money from this. And in doing that, they became basically one of the richest bands ever. Like they're just a cash cow. Every time they release something, it sells out. Like a CD or like a 3 CD set or even like they do these 20 CD box sets, and they'll print 10,000 of them, and like they're sold out in pre-orders. And that's because they sanctioned this community, and they got people to become completely obsessed with him, so that it's not like what albums do you like. It's like what are your 15 favorite versions of this one song of Dark Star or something like that. And so that's what I want to bring that energy to like jazz social media.
Yeah.
It's easier with some than others, and Kurt is perfect for it.
Right. What are the easy, like the most perfect clients you have? Meaning like that they're open like that and they try things and
Wayne, and it still is, because it's still very much an organization that is still very much a business. Like a record just came out. We're also shopping his orchestral scores around to symphonies all over the world, and many of them are getting them and having their own Wayne night, and and just that the people around him told him not to hire me, and then he did hire me, and then not necessarily related to me because it was a year and a half later he then fired them.
Wow.
So that just shows how open he was to like my new idea. And then when
managers give you shit a lot, like can you do more this, can you do more that, or no more this?
Yeah, some of them get just a little antsy, like, why are you giving this away? You should charge for it. But I think
for what?
Like a video of someone there was a live stream of a Wayne show in Budapest, and it was only available on the venue's website.
Yeah, and then you put
for one day. Someone tape recorded or whatever off their computer and posted it to YouTube a week later. So I shared the link.
Yeah, and
they said take it down. He's like, I spent 2 hours negotiating the terms of that deal, and it's not to be. And so it hasn't. And so in they got it taken down off the YouTube channel, so now no one sees it.
Right.
And it's like, how does that help? I don't know. Maybe people who have been in the music business longer than me can explain how that helps an artist. You're saving, this person's $20 for when you sell them a DVD. Like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Right.
And so Wynton Marsalis is, even though I don't work for him, he has the right idea because it's just constant free content.
Right.
They're releasing like something like 5 records a year, and it's. Who's
doing John Scofield? Does he even have?
I think his wife Susan, but I'm not sure. I've tried before, but he says he admires my work. But
what about him?
So I stopped.
How do you get in touch with these people?
Some of them it's just accosting them at their show. Some of them it's emailing. Some of them they hear about it.
Yeah. What about Bill Frisell?
He's got people. They responded when I suggested that it was me, but then they just started doing it.
Most of your clients, you suggested it, or they come to you?
I suggested it.
Really?
Yeah.
Some of them come to you, though?
Yeah, some of them.
It's cooler to be approached by you?
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know.
How do you feel when someone approaches you? You're flattered, or you're like, I'll approach you when it's time?
Sometimes it depends on my mood that day. Sometimes I'm like, no, leave me alone.
Yeah.
That's more of a me thing, though.
Right. And okay, let's listen to that recording for a second.
Okay, I'd like to just tell a brief story of how it came together. It was the Kurt Elling's first, volume 1 of Wildflowers, which is the series he's doing of mostly duos with one guest. And so he came to me in the middle of the session, and he had very serious look in his eye, and I was like, oh shit, am I in trouble or what?
Yeah.
And he's like, I need your help. And he wrote a lyric to Wayne's piece, Anna Maria.
Yeah.
And to legally release something that is a previously composed piece of music with your own new lyric on it, you need the artist or their publisher to okay it.
Yeah.
And that is a months-long process. And a lot of people have come to me when they just don't hear back from Wayne's publisher. And so, they're in the studio that day. They're going to release it 4 days from now.
Yeah.
So I was able to contact Carolina Shorter, Wayne's beautiful wife.
Yeah.
And she knows Kurt because Kurt had done a project with Danilo Perez, and Renee Fleming had seen it and sent this long email about how it was so brilliant. And anyway, so I was able to get to hear from Carolina. I sent her the lyric. She sent back an audio message. She often does that instead of texting, where it'll be a minute or two of her talking into the phone. And she was basically in tears. She was so moved by the lyric. Anna Maria was her best friend who
Yeah.
died tragically in the plane crash in 1996.
Yeah.
And their niece. And Carolina then became Wayne's wife. Sorry to tangent this even further, but it's such a beautiful detail about that particular thing. Carolina had been living at the house with Wayne and Anna Maria. They had a big house and just living there. And she was considering going back to Brazil to take she had a job offer. And the last thing that Anna Maria said to Carolina before leaving for the airport was, I hope you'll stay here.
Yo.
And then Carolina became Wayne's wife and caregiver, and so that's really beautiful. So anyway,
wow.
So Kurt wrote this lyric, and Carolina, she sent this audio message back in tears, saying, "Yes, absolutely, you have clearance."
Wow.
And then they recorded it, and for me, it's the deepest part of the album. It's a beautiful album front to back, but that's a very, very special thing.
Wow. And it's the first time Kurt and Sullivan played together, or
yeah, they had met briefly. And they had never played together. And they show up at 10 a.m. By 5 p.m. They had this
What's
beautiful
the studio?
record. Sear Sound.
Yes. Who was the engineer?
Chris Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You worked with them. I worked with him now when I did the Sullivan thing.
Yeah, he's the best. He's everywhere.
Yeah. All right, let's hear Anna Maria. Wow.
Okay.
She was a lonely shadow thrown by a waning moon glow. Stars shone the light of a million night skies in her eyes. She was a midnight rose, dreaming of distant meadows, waking alone, remembering 1,000 lost lives. Unrelenting, short stories never ending, evidence of the enchantment of spirals and endless goodbyes, and endless goodbyes. Was the perfect stranger, past every thought of danger, beaming the light of the million bright skies from his eyes. Let the circle close, mindful of distant meadows, still as the stones, two souls who'd long outgrown their past lives. Their fading, watching and meditating, waiting to break the enchantment of spirals and endless goodbyes.
Wow, so gorgeous. A little too long for the show, but I love it.
Same.
You should listen to Wildflowers Volume 1 and Volume 2 that's released today.
Volume 2 is with Joey Calderazzo and guest Ingrid Jensen, and is also stunning.
And it was also the same process, recorded that week. And wow.
Yeah.
Who's this guy's manager? He comes up with ideas, or Kurt?
This was... I believe the whole idea was Brian Farina. He's the manager of Kurt, as well as Cyril Aimé, Marquise Hill, and I think a couple others.
He's cool?
He's the best. He's one of my best friends, and
wow.
We talk almost every day.
Wow.
And he's absolutely brilliant sound manager. Like he does managerial things that no one else, like, that are extremely high level. Like it's sort of a private thing I shouldn't say about Kurt, so I won't. But a significant alteration in Kurt's career that was entirely Brian's, and yeah, my hat's off to him. That's
amazing. Okay, question.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot. I remember. What do you want your career to be? Like, you're doing what you're doing and you just want to keep doing that, or are there other stuff you want to be doing more?
I want to cook more. Not in a restaurant.
For sessions and musicians?
Yeah, one thing I've been doing lately, I've done it 3 times now, is my dear friend from Toronto, who's in the process of moving to New York, Virginia McDonald, a significant rising star on jazz clarinet. She asked me, would you cater my record date? She was recording in Brooklyn with Jeff Geezer, Ira Coleman, Curtis Noasad, and I never would have had this idea. But she suggested it, and immediately I'm just like, sure. And so I made a healthy Otto Lengi meal. Otto Lengi is the wonderful chef that I'm absolutely obsessed with, and most of the recipes I make are from him. So I made 4 dishes.
Yeah.
I brought them on the subway, went down to Brooklyn, and I got there. They're in the midst of a tune, and then they see me, and okay, let's break for lunch. And they spent the whole lunch talking about how good it was, as well as the potential for food to make you feel and play your best.
Yeah.
And that's when it occurred to me that most record dates order pad thai.
I know, that's what we ordered.
Pad thai's delicious. I love pad thai, but it's
it makes you tired.
I need a nap after.
Yeah.
And this is precisely the moment when you need to think your best. And so I'm trying to break that norm. And so the other 2 sessions I've done it for are these 2 Kurt Elling Wildflowers sessions, and they
so basically everyone should know that when they have a recording session, they can hire you to cook for everyone.
Absolutely. Please hire me for that. It's not too expensive. You know, it's maybe the same price as just ordering in.
Right.
But you'll feel so much better. A home cooked meal. You know what's going in your body, and I make it just optimal, like some carbs but not too much. Some it's just like it's perfect for this. It's fresh and delicious. And I'm not tooting my own horn there. I'm just following the recipes from the golden god, Yotam Otto Lengi. But yeah, this idea is a significant thing that I like in my life, and I really hope that it becomes more the norm for people to just put more care into the meal for that very important moment of your career.
That's beautiful. Okay, so you want more of that?
Definitely.
And then otherwise, you just love managing your favorite musician's social media?
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself, I don't know, like producing a record, managing an artist, like things like that? Do you even think about it, or?
Yeah, well, I run the official Wayne Shorter Repertory Project, or whatever you want to call it. It's called Palladium. I've done around 30 shows that I've produced. I'm not on stage, thank goodness.
Yeah.
The recent one at Smoke Jazz Club was Nicole Glover, Joel Ross, George Cables, Russell Hall, Billy Hart. So that's to give you an idea of the level I strive
So you call the
for.
musicians and they play Wayne Shorter pieces?
Yeah, I get the charts together. I put a set list together. Sometimes they follow it. Sometimes they don't. The ones that follow it more, but still put their own spin and still take it as far out as they want.
Yeah.
I tend to want to hire them more than the people who would just throw away my set list and play what's easiest.
Right,
and have the easiest interpretation of a Wayne Shorter repertory concert. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
Palladium is a very specific thing to be presented in a specific way.
Yeah.
And the ones that I just listed, they did it so perfectly. It was brilliant.
Right.
And like other, I've had Sarah Hanahan do a bunch. She's absolutely wonderful. Emilia Modeste basically is Wayne Shorter. I know it doesn't like people saying that, but Luther Allison is just one of the most breathtaking pianists I've ever heard, etc.
Maybe we should finish the show with listening to one of those shows.
Well, I made 2 albums also.
Albums.
Under the Palladium name. The first one was like right in the thick of the pandemic, so it's mostly solo recordings. The second one is a solid quintet with guest appearances from Wayne Shorter on both of them.
Whoa. So what should we listen to from this one?
Yeah, so the first album is called 2020. Mm-hmm. The track I would love to highlight is by vibraphonist Chen Chen Liu.
Yes.
And there was some production assistance from her partner Richie Goods. It's the song Oriental Folk Song, which Wayne adapted on the Night Dreamer album. And yeah, I didn't tell her anything. I just play this song in whatever way you want. And this is what she came up with.
Gorgeous. I can't wait to listen to it. On the archive, we'll have the whole song, but right now it will be a minute of it.
I hear.
Jesse, thank you so much for coming today. This was so fun.
Yeah, I loved it.
We can chat forever.
I hope I'm not mansplaining.
Yeah, no. We're going to have... next week I won't be here because I'm going to Arizona, but see you all next time and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye.